Mindfulness for Educators program has been around since we started in 2011. And we went fully online in 2014. So it's been in its current form since 2014. So this is our 10-year anniversary. And in honor of that 10-year anniversary, I wanted to take a look at the state of the field of mindfulness in education and what we've learned in 10 years from our 100+ alumni and their experience in the program. So there's been a lot of research done now, especially over the last 10 years, on the impact of teaching mindfulness to school children. And the results of that have been mixed, so that what we're learning is that students at all ages do report a reduction in stress, but we aren't seeing a major impact on mental health outcomes. So we aren't seeing clinical reduction in things like depression and anxiety for students. But in almost all of these studies, there's been a surprise report, which is the teachers who are trained to teach mindfulness to their students report benefits for themselves in their practice. And so Mark Greenberg, who's one of the people who was involved in one of the largest studies in the UK, this Myriad study, said that maybe instead of rushing to implement mindfulness for kids, we ought to start with implementing it for teachers, and then teachers will better understand in a way that outsiders don't how to apply it to their students and the right way to bring it into their classrooms. So I love that idea. So our program is not based on teaching a curriculum to teach to students. It's focused on mindfulness for the teacher, with trust that the teacher will understand best what kind of applications can be applied to their students. And also there are tons of mindfulness curricula for students out there that can be adopted and adapted once a teacher understands where they stand with it and what they want to do. So our program is based on 3 components: individual mindfulness, reflective teaching, and learning in community with other teachers. Teaching is so hard, and there's a big difference in kind of offering mindfulness to therapists or mindfulness for doctors and mindfulness for teachers. Teachers need to be able to talk about applying mindfulness specifically to the teaching context, and that's why we feel like this program is really valuable. We do start by looking at a definition of what mindfulness is, and that John Kabat-Zinn definition, the awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally to the unfolding of experience moment by moment. I think, the key word for me in this definition is awareness. We're cultivating awareness. And it often comes through setting an intention. What is it that we want to focus on, see, connect with in our practice? Then focusing our attention on that, and then cultivating responses. And I love this from Amy Salzman, that mindfulness is an innate human capacity. We all have the capacity to be mindful. And so for that reason, I feel like it's a growing field in education that we really need to explore. We do 3 components in the Mindfulness for Educators program. We have a study component, we have a meditation component, and we have daily life applications, which are trying things in the classroom, basically. Or in other aspects of daily life. We do have non-classroom teachers in the program too. Every cohort has had pre-K to 12 teachers, some community-based educators like yoga instructors or people who are working in outdoor ed, for example, and then we always have some higher ed folks in our cohorts. This is a nice quote from one of our last cohort's graduates. I love this. She said that after the program, she's found that pausing, noticing, and relaxing are the key to meditation and the key to being present in my life. I understand that the mind, heart, body are deeply connected. In challenging moments, my impulse has been to climb up into the ego control tower of my brain, and now I drop into my body and ask myself, what is here? So this is the kind of shift that teachers often begin exploring in this program. Like when they apply mindfulness approaches to their experience of teaching, what shifts for them? What's different for them? We look at, for the study component, we often do readings, we do videos, we have discussions, talks, and question and answer. We give a lot of feedback. The program is very small. There's a ton of individualized attention to students. And then for the meditation, we try all kinds of different meditation modalities, sitting meditation, walking, mindful movement. We do gratitude practice, kindness practice, compassion. We look at joy and equanimity. And we really invite people to explore what practices work for them and what modality of practice works for them. Sitting meditation doesn't work for everyone, but people often can find practices that really meet them where they are and help them to grow their mindfulness in whatever ways possible. And then in the classroom, we're really cultivating this awareness of the body, heart, mind system through pausing, through setting intentions, through working with observation and description, reflection, and then how that translates into wise action and choosing wise actions. Meditation and mindfulness are not the same thing, and this is sometimes conflated, especially in the popular literature. We do think that doing meditation as part of this program is an important component. There are things that happen for the brain in meditation that you can't get without doing it. And we feel like it's worth, especially if you're investing money in doing this degree, we think that if you do the program without doing the meditation, it's a little like reading the menu without eating the food. So we really have leaned into good recent data that supports measurable improvement in well-being, but it matters what practices are used for how long and how regularly. So we really get to know our students well and can help tailor a meditation practice that works for them. And we do a lot of try this, try that. You're having this experience, now try this. We do have a lot more data now in understanding that sustained silent meditation can be detrimental for people suffering from anxiety or traumatic stress or PTSD. But mindfulness approaches other than meditation and using meditation in small doses and specific practices can be helpful. So we're sensitive to that and we don't have a one-size-fits-all approach. And it's really important to know that we still don't have good data about working on meditation for kids. We need developmentally appropriate practices. So sit spots for 4-year-olds is a great example. Or looking at certain kinds of curriculum for teenagers that are really based in social and relational mindfulness practices, which is where they are developmentally. This is the kind of work that we want to be encouraging, and our students are helping to map the way for that. The graduates of this program really see themselves on the leading edge of developing a new field. And so we are inviting teachers to come with us into this work and help us think about what works well for the students they're serving. I think of meditation as a way to practice mindfulness while limiting distractions. And part of what we're trying to be able to do with our mindfulness is to notice our own conditioning and make friends with our own mind, to build our tolerance for being with ourselves, and also practice in a more quiet environment, a way to notice when our own triggers are coming up, when our own habits of mind and behavior are coming up, because that's often what we want to be working with in the classroom. Pausing, cultivating awareness and seeing things with new eyes is a big part of this program. I love this quote from one of our EDD students. She talks about how important it has been learning to pause. And she said, it sounds so simple, but it's a practice and one I hope to continue to invest in and be intentional with. I love this quote about pausing helps her get a perspective on what time really means and how unurgent it can be, even when my brain is telling me otherwise. And I think this is a key component of the program, and a key component of mindfulness practice is really finding out that we have more time than we think to pause, and that when we practice pausing in our teaching, we often end up saving time by seeing more clearly and responding more appropriately to our students and to what the teaching moment is asking of us. It's not just about behavior and regulation, it's also academically. We get insights and we can see more about what's happening. So the pause and the cultivation of awareness and seeing is super important. I want to just run through briefly, and this is really kind of the end for me, getting to know some of the benefits of mindfulness for teachers, what we're learning. Starting with that, getting to know and make friends with our own mind, that pausing and observation can help us see more clearly. And one of the things I feel like we see is we see choices where we didn't see choices before. Choices in how we respond in different situations and how we respond to our own conditioning. We learn about how intentions can help guide our actions in new ways and how important it is to work with intention. Our thinking patterns and our classroom habits evolve as we bring more of these mindfulness approaches into the classroom. And we often notice that people around us, our students and our colleagues, change their response to us as our behavior and intentions change. The importance of kindness and compassion for ourselves is a profound difference. Compassion or the heart practices, compassion and kindness. Teachers often report that this aspect of the program makes one of the biggest differences for them. And in particular, learning to really hear our own inner voice when many of us live with a really strong inner critic, and learning to hear that inner critic and be able to not respond out of habit when that inner critic kicks in, because it's often that voice that gets us tense and unable to respond creatively in the classroom. And I'm really dedicated to this idea that just like students, teachers are on a developmental journey, and we need to get to know our own conditioned habits of mind and behavior in order to make progress in our life in general and in our classroom and teaching. And mindfulness and compassion are important tools for that. And we find that students benefit emotionally and academically when we as teachers are better regulated and more self-aware. So that's kind of the secret of it. And I love this picture. One of our alums, Mark Williams, has developed a pilot, which is actually, we're really hoping, going to get picked up in Pittsburgh by PBS for this Hello Humans show. And in their first episode, Mark made a hand puppet with one of his collaborators of his fear, and he spends that episode talking about fear with kids. But I also feel like, making friends with our emotions and then being able to work with them creatively in our teaching is a big part of what this program's about. And I think Mark's a great example of the kind of things that our alumni are doing with this degree. They're becoming mindfulness consultants. They are looking for creative ways to create curriculum for kids. They're working with colleagues and teachers. They're writing, they're publishing. We have 2 alums who've gone on to our EDD program in social and emotional learning, and they're working on research in the field. So, it's an open path and it's a new field, and there's a lot of opportunity there.